Suddenly, the alleged alien seems to suffer a coughing attack. Within seconds, supposed medical personnel are at his side, giving him comfort.
The medics rush in and shine a light in his face as if to take a look at his mouth, his airway, as if cleaning it out, or supposedly the way they breathe is not the same way that we breathe. So the medics come in while he's coughing or choking, and that's essentially where the footage ends.
But the question has to be asked, could it be possible that an alien was interviewed by the government, or is it simply another well-executed hoax?
The Hollywood animatronic puppet experts basically thought it looked fake and puppety.
Though it's hard to believe, Broad Street still thinks the alien interview could be authentic.
You have to think, or maybe possibly speculate, that if they have captured flying saucers, that there might possibly be pilots or occupants of those flying saucers.
Coming up next, is this a secret Israeli aircraft or a UFO?
Everything is wrong. The dimensions are wrong. The squares aren't quite squares. If it was a military vehicle, it hasn't come back.
And later, is this proof that UFOs were first encountered 12,000 years ago? When UFOs, the best evidence ever caught on tape 2, returns.
While in recent years, UFOs have been videotaped in record numbers around the world, and even above it, nowhere have there been more sightings of mysterious craft than over Israel. The inexplicably eerie UFOs caught on tape over the Holy Land are some of the most extraordinary images ever recorded. As incredible as it sounds, some experts even believe they are proof we are being visited by extraterrestrials. September 1996. This peculiar and fascinating image was filmed by a resident of an area called Kfar Saba. When the craft first appeared, it resembled an apple with a strange top and bottom. Amazingly, this incredible UFO was seen again in a different configuration the next evening. After it appeared a third night, the videographer marveled at its intricate design. Look here at the many forms it seems to take. One night, there are 3 lights on top. The second night, only 1. The third night, the lights take on the shape of a crown, and the entire object shrinks in size and turns a deep shade of orange. UFO researcher Michael Lindemann has never come across anything quite like this.
Seeing the video of this thing, I must say it's very impressive, and I can't imagine what it is. It doesn't look like any prosaic object that I can think of. It doesn't bear any reasonable resemblance to a conventional aircraft of any kind.
We showed the intriguing video to Dr. Bruce Maccabee. He offers a possible explanation for what we're seeing.
The question is this image shape actually the shape of the object, or has it been modified by the camera? If it's on automatic focus, it likely tries to focus at the wrong distance. When that happens, you get an image in which the shape of the image is related to the aperture of the camera rather than the actual shape of the object.
But how is it possible that the same individual, using the same camera, captured 3 separate images on 3 separate nights? If so, what are we really looking at? Maccabee cannot say for sure.
This thing right here suggests to me that the actual shape of the object has not got round things like that on it. It was a very bright light, which may well be a UFO. But the shape of the object is probably not this shape.
But this amazing, flying, structured craft has no earthly explanation. It was seen over the small farming village of Kibbutz Hatzor for 3 consecutive nights in August of 1996. This video, shot by a young resident of the kibbutz, shows a bizarre-looking, partially lit craft with strange red markings and rectangular shapes. When the camera zooms in, we see what appears to be a light on the craft's left side take on amazing structure. The structure, some say, resembles a huge flying building with hallways. 17-year-old Amiche Showa was stunned to be awakened by the strange, bright object in the night sky. He watched in amazement as it hovered above for hours. He waited for its return the next night, video camera in hand. By the third night, word of the strange craft had spread, and some 60 members of the kibbutz came out to see it in all its glorious color. This time, Amiche's batteries failed, but he managed to film the odd craft again using a neighbor's camera. Look what he managed to capture on tape. The structure is so massive that the illuminated portion is said to represent only 5 to 7% of its actual size. Is this the design of some otherworldly architect? As incredible as it sounds, some UFO researchers claim it could be housing alien inhabitants, giant aliens as described in the Bible.
No one has ever seen one like this before. So it was captured on 2 separate nights, 1 separate morning. Over 100 people saw it.
Barry Chamish is one of the most respected UFO investigators in Israel today. He believes that this is one of the most extraordinary UFOs ever caught on tape.
What we're dealing with Chatzor is a very large UFO. This thing is not just a round disc. This thing's got windows. It's got 2 rows of windows or vents, or who knows what on earth they're shaped, because they are very odd, offbeat squares. And they managed to get a close-up of these vents. I mean, really close. You're right inside them. And they could be teeth for all you know. And you have no idea what's attacking you. But this orange structure, I believe it's energy vents or something. Something to do with venting energy.
The kibbutz is near an Israeli Air Force base, but Chamish is convinced this is no military craft.
Everything is wrong. The dimensions are wrong. The squares aren't quite squares. If it was a military vehicle, it hasn't come back. It's never been, the likes of it have never been seen ever again.
Then what was hovering above Israel for 3 consecutive nights that summer?
Obviously, if this is up in the sky, there's nothing that's supposed to be up in the sky that looks quite like that. It apparently is some object which has got that sort of a size to it in this level of blow-up. When they zoom in and get a structured image out of this, it just plain, it doesn't look like anything that I've ever seen. It doesn't look like any ordinary UFO, that's for sure, but it certainly doesn't look like an airplane or a blimp, balloons or whatever. This would have to be considered to be unknown.
These unexplainable UFOs videotaped over Israel have never been sighted anywhere else in the world. Some believe the Holy Land may hold special significance for visitors from other worlds. Even Israeli television has broadcast images of possible UFOs on the news. However, according to Chamish, the Israeli military has secretly viewed UFOs as a possible threat.
Israel has never admitted to UFOs, and I know for a fact that our Air Force is chasing them constantly. I was in the Air Force. We were ordered not to tell anyone.
This extraordinary footage may actually show a UFO being tracked by an Israeli military jet. The video was shot by a student named Gil Bar.
I got my camera and zoom in on the object, and as I zoom in, the object began to get closer or brighter, and I didn't understand what it was.
But what happened next is even more baffling. Visually, it appears as though the objects are interacting. Notice how the two seem to be checking each other out. But who is following who? Is the plane a fighter jet attempting to achieve lock-on or awaiting further instruction from the ground? Or is the orb engaging the jet in a little fun? Finally, the two seem to cross paths before the jet flies out of frame.